Well, everybody is in a tizzy over the death of Senator John McCain, and the reactions are just all over the place, all over the place. But the biggest, the biggest reaction I keep seeing all the time is just this shaming of people for whatever reason, based on the death of John McCain and who he was. Now, one of the funniest reactions I keep seeing, and I wouldn't say I go as far as he does, Sticks Hexenhammer basically was reveling for, I guess, over a year now at the prospect of John McCain dying, and even dying painfully. I think that's a bit much for me. I think that John McCain, though, knowing what I do know about him now, I can't really be one of these people that goes and salutes at the coffin and pretends, oh, this guy was an amazing American hero. Look, I've described McCain before as the American Wellington, and not in a good way. The Duke of Wellington was known, and is still known throughout history, as the person who defeated Napoleon at Waterloo. What people don't remember about Wellington, because there wasn't that big of a media back then, you couldn't exactly show video of him. But for decades after that, he was just a very codgy old man serving in Parliament for the Tory party, the Conservatives. This was parliamentary England in its early days, so only I think only landowning men could vote in Britain. So Wellington was one of the people who voted to deny Catholics the right to vote. Wellington was also so old at a certain point that I think it was in the 1850s, a new generation of parliamentarians was elected. And Wellington was so deaf that he could hardly hear the names of the people being introduced. And he started shouting, who is this? Because he couldn't hear their names. So it was called the Who Parliament. So John McCain should have understood years ago that he did his part, whatever it is. Especially, I mean, I'm not going to laugh at his Vietnam War service because, there are a lot of people who served in Vietnam, and I'm not going to go into that issue. But since then, you've become a politician. Your war service is only something that you can use in order to bring some perspective to it. You can't use your war service in order to justify literally everything you do while you're in public service. Because if that was the case, then how come all of these phony baloney Republicans all about John McCain, how come they don't have the same attitude towards John Kerry? John Kerry, who was probably one of the more awful cabinet members in history. John Kerry, who as senator voted for the Iraq War and then ran for president claiming that he opposed it. John Kerry was a Vietnam War hero too. He wasn't a POW apparently, but for a long time he was campaigning as a Vietnam War hero, even though people have disputed his version of what happened during the war. Again, not going to get into that issue today, and I'm not particularly interested in it, although if people want to talk about it one day, I have no problem. But ultimately, John McCain, what will I remember him for? So in 2000, he ran for president on basically he had the Straight Talk Express was talking about, hey, I'm going to revamp the Republican Party or whatever. Loses to George Bush, although he did give him a good challenge for a while. What does he end up doing? Being basically the same type of Republican. The same type of Republican as George Bush, a very centrist one, giving in all the time to, bullshit stuff like the McCain-Feingold Act, which claimed it was going to reform campaign finance. It didn't really. If people really want to, if people really wanted to try to reform campaign finance, that there might be a necessity to create a total government limit, a government imposed limit where everybody gets the same amount of money and the same amount of airtime or whatever. Some people are interested in it. I have mixed feelings about it. what McCain did virtually nothing. It got rid of what was called, I believe, hard money, and it started this like soft money limits or something. And then, of course, the super PAC started, and they were validated by Citizens United as a constitutional way of funding political campaigns from the outside. Like basically, you would have shadow campaigns. So McCain never dealt with that. He never cared because he'd done his part. So this is the same type of politician that says, well, I'm going to do something that claims to solve a problem and it doesn't get solved in reality. But people will see my name on the bill, the McCain-Feingold bill. So it looks like it worked, right? Just like Obamacare, which brings me to the Maxine Waters tweet where she says, a true American patriot and hero is past. John McCain was an example of a public policymaker who fought for what he believed in and had that character and dignity to stand up for what was right, even if he had to oppose some of his colleagues to do so. I will always remember the critical moment when John McCain strode into the U.S. Senate and, with all eyes focused on him and one vote needed, displayed a thumbs down and saved Obamacare, which benefits millions in our country. So you have this idiot, Maxine Waters, signaling that she prioritizes a failed public program that just scoops money out of the hands of taxpayers and gives it to insurance companies to provide unaffordable insurance to people who have pre-existing conditions. That in their mind is the real issue. Not for her, it's more important to save Obamacare, which is a failure by any metric, than it is to actually solve the healthcare crisis. So therefore, she's going to pay tribute to this phony John McCain. John McCain, when he was in the Senate, never really supported Obamacare. He didn't vote to put Obamacare in place. So why would he not? Why would he vote now not to, or when it was cast? It was cast, I think, in May of last year of 2017, whenever it was. So he never supported it when it was up to be passed. So he voted no on passing Obamacare. He voted no on repealing Obamacare. What is this? Is this some sort of issue where people have different public and private positions like somebody else we know of? Is that really what John McCain was about? And you see the reactions here. It says, good to see you found a way to politicize his death. You should be embarrassed. And then people go after this guy. And then people are showing the GIF and whatever. This woman says, I think it was unironically, she says, I also remember with gratitude that was John McCain who handed, quote, the dossier to the FBI. Well, don't you think that it's a little ironic that this person who all his life claimed that he was, now this guy, again, so that's another aspect that she brings up, that this was a person who handed classified, like a bunch of bullshit to the FBI in order to get back at Donald Trump. What else was here? You have all these thumbs down. Me too. I breathe a sigh of relief as my daughter has a congenital heart defect. Well, Obamacare is not really going to have. So now your daughter would have to pay, or you, whoever it is, will have to pay much higher premiums due to Obamacare. Obamacare actually made some of the problem much worse if you're talking about high premiums. Yes, it allowed some people to get health insurance after years that they couldn't. But those people are actually not that significant in a number of people. And this woman says, and I will always remember 2 weeks later he voted to gut it. I love you, Auntie Maxine, but as Voltaire said, to the living we owe respect, but to the dead we owe only the truth. Well, so I guess at least this woman takes a little more of a truthful look at this. Then you have Kamala Harris. My colleague John McCain will be remembered as a devoted father and husband, war hero, and a conscience of the Senate. Sending my condolences and prayers to his friends and family and to the American people who have lost a true patriot. Okay? Then you have all these people. This one says, I wish no one ill and have sympathy for his family, but he was no hero. In fact, he was a traitor, U.S.'s liberty, and a warmongering hawk responsible for the deaths of many. The world is a safer place with his passing. Now, I really have no clue what he has to do with the U.S.'s liberty. That's one thing I have no clue about. Only the Democrats can give real condolences. The fake Republicans in the Congress, who sat silently with each insult Trump attacked John McCain and his military record, should look down at their Republican fake feet and shut up. So, yeah, that's politicizing his death. Hey, Senator, a great way to honor his memory would be to revive his push for campaign finance reform. It would likely get great bipartisan support in the current climate. There's a person with an Antifa icon. This person misspells indeed, but says a true hero when America needed one the most. This person says, I've said some shitty things about you, but this is extremely respectful and genuine. As a veteran, I appreciate this post. I mean, there's just so many of these people. Nice correction. I also deleted the strongly worded message for your communication aid, dear. These people are just, I mean, who are these people that follow Kamala Harris? Kamala Harris, sorry. They claim to know God, but in their so this is just a lot of emoting over this. Then you have who should we go first? Bernie Sanders or Rand Paul? I think we'll go with the Bernie Sanders tweet. It might be the only reason to go on Twitter anymore. But now that my posts are not really getting seen anyway, so who cares? But you just have these idiots going and fighting each other over nothing. So Sanders says John McCain was an American hero, a man of decency and honor, and a friend of mine. He will be missed not just in the U.S. Senate, but by all Americans who respect integrity and independence. Jane and I send our deepest condolences to his family. And then this person says, is Henry Kissinger dead account says no. Socialism will prevail says hope Kissinger is next. Don't forget Dick Cheney. The last 4 administrations could be abducted and I would help arrange the parade. Last 4? What about Ronnie? So this person says, well, he's already dead. So these aren't exactly the nicest people here either. John McCain was a war criminal, not an American hero. The way progressives and liberals are praising a man who brought death and destruction throughout the world to countless innocent people is a nauseating spectacle to observe. Liberals praised McCain because he said mean things against Trump, even though McCain voted with Trump 83% of the time. Mick resistance. So this So yeah, a lot of Sanders fans are rebelling. This person says, "This ain't it, Chief. How many times do we have to teach you a lesson, old man?" I will never feel more sympathy for the John McCain than I feel for all the innocent people who his lust for war and death has killed. At least he can't hurt anyone anymore. It is important to not ignore the fact that this man was an advocate for initiating an unwarranted military airstrike against Iran, a country that helped the U.S. after 9/11. I really don't think Iran helped that much after 9/11, but I think the point is well taken. Exactly. Stop making these mistakes. Heroes avoid war every opportunity. Then this person says, so many disgusting people in these comments. And then this person cites McCain, I hate gooks. Liberals, an American hero has died today. And then people dispute that he said that. It's well known that John McCain, in this 2000 campaign, said that. So then he still doesn't, people still don't trust that happened. So then they bring the San Francisco Chronicle here. So that, yeah, his audience was basically just fighting each other over this. McCain bombed a Vietnamese light bulb factory, killing civilians, auctioned off native lands and water to corporations, supported CIA-backed Salafi jihadists in Syria. Keating 5 voted for every war we are now in. Threatened Iran, colluded with Nazis in Ukraine. He was pure evil. So yeah, there's a lot of people who are like, well, why are you giving this person such a I love you, Bernie, but this ain't it. That's a funny gif. Yeah, this is basically the way that people are reacting to him giving Elizabeth Voss. Elizabeth Voss, by the way, I don't know her. I do read her once in a while. I'm not as much as some of the anti-war left people, but I respect her journalism. I definitely do. Then you have Senator Rand Paul, and this is like some real shit. This is some real salt over here. This is like a fucking iodized salt mine here. Kelly and I send our prayers and condolences to the family of Senator John McCain, a man of great courage and conviction. May he rest in peace. And then this person says, one of my favorite memories was when he pointed out that you now work for Putin. He was a true American, rest in peace. So people are taking the disjointed, diluted accusation without any basis and evidence by a terminally ill geriatric U.S. senator and another U.S. senator. They're taking that to be a heroic moment. Very funny. Senator Paul is working for the Constitution and trying to make it clear that only Congress can declare war, and never been working for Putin. But of course, a globalist as traitor like McCain would have to say false statements. And then this person says the Russian Constitution, maybe not the American one. So then what are you trying to say? That in Russia, only parliament authorizes Putin to go to war? So don't you think therefore, Russia is not a dictatorship? I mean, these people are idiotic. You're the last person that should say anything about McCain. He's an American hero. You're a traitor, and McCain knew it. Rotten hell, scumbag. And then somebody objects, says, such a hatred for a man paying tribute to a fine American. Where is your class, sir? John McCain had disdain for Rand Paul. Well, disdain. D-I-S-T-A-I-N. Well, okay, so John McCain, who was in the Senate for years, basically stabbed his actual causes in the back. That John McCain, that's the person who's not a traitor. Rand Paul, who has never voted against his actual policies. Of course, there is, I would get shit for this. I did think when he voted for Pompeo, you could make a case that he had that might have been a mistake on his part at the time when he voted for. Well, now that he's voting for Kavanaugh, I don't know if that's the best idea either. I'm not crazy about Brett Kavanaugh in terms of his support for the police state. So you might as well keep Rand Paul accountable for the things that Rand Paul promises to deliver. The same way, by the way, you can't attack Bernie Sanders for promoting the policies that Bernie Sanders ran on. It doesn't matter. You can call him a dumbass for promoting illiterate economics and being basically a laughing stock and wearing his hair like he's been sleeping in the park for 5 years. That you can make fun of him for, and you should, because he is really a ridiculous person. But you can't attack Bernie Sanders for promoting the policies that he's supported for decades, including Medicare for all. It's just part of the. I mean, you have to take the bitter with the sweet. Then you have a person saying, where was this? Which senator from Kentucky was Senator McCain referring to when he said he's working for Putin? It must be a great feeling to be the last person an American hero like John McCain would ever suggest was working for one of America's greatest foes. Look, John McCain was a failure as a politician. If you really want to think about what failure means, 2-time failed presidential candidate. A lot of his, the bills he passed were really just for the corporations to benefit from, not for the average American citizen. And yes, he was a warmongering, hardcore, just neocon. He basically, John McCain may have been one of the reasons that I almost completely stopped following politics. In 2008, he ran for president. I was observing the election. And I was like, no, there's really nothing for me to vote for here. I'm not even going to vote. And this was the second election I was eligible for. In 2000, he actually had, nobody knew much about him if you weren't familiar with his war record. So he seemed like kind of a fresh face. if you, I don't know if you can say that about John McCain in any respect, but it's been 18 years since then, and people have gotten wise to the fact that he's not a real representative of the people. And I mean, he passed away. This guy gets it. When you're about to die, but you haven't bombed Iran yet. John McCain loved wars. He loved going into wars, and as much as I'm a critic of Iran, I'm not in favor of bombing a country when there's no there's no strategy for what to do after that. Would have been more appropriate if he wrote this in Russian. So people are essentially just all about the whole Russia thing. People can't get over the fact that the Russia thing, there's virtually no proof of it. You're just basing it on things people have yelled out in fits of hysteria. And you're just echoing it. Speak up, Senator. McCain was the type of voice we need right now. Way too many people like you. Silent when things are obvious as day. Rest in peace, John McCain. The only Republican that had balls will never be the man it was. So was John McCain the person who had balls? The one who kissed Obama's ass for so many years while after Obama basically beat his ass in 2008. And McCain basically spent the next 8 years just kissing Obama's ass, except when it came to wars that Obama refused to start, like in Syria. Is that the great man that McCain was? Because he did. He really did get down on his knees and kiss Obama's ass literally all the time. It's not even a matter of conjecture. Yeah, more stuff about Russia. It's all about Russia here. All about Russia. Somebody said something nice. Well done. That was kind of you, McCain. Rand. He's just doing it for political agenda. He doesn't have a care in his body. He works for Putin and is a traitor. What? McCain. Rand Paul is now working for Vladimir Putin. So this is what people. So John McCain, again, we're gonna end this now because it's like I'm starting to repeat myself. People are now, they're so obsessed with paying tribute to a person who was a failure as a presidential candidate, basically was a tool of corporations in the Senate. He fought change all the way within the Republican Party, trying to keep it just a party of the elite, just a party of representing the people who have been running the country into the ground for so many years, supported NAFTA, supported basically all the policies that have disenfranchised the average voter. And they're paying tribute to him because of two things. Because he voted against repealing Obamacare, which is the worst domestic policy law that was ever written in the United States. Just a complete failure and a joke. So that was one thing. And the other thing they love him for was for deludedly calling Rand Paul a Russian agent. Yeah, that's very smart. These people are so enlightened that they can see their own liver because they have their heads up their asses so far that they've gone through the entire digestive system. That's about it. I want you guys to like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment when it uploads, and I'll see you later.